Aaron Goldsten here. So I have a buddy of mine that's a very smart, very intelligent guy that knows a lot about a bunch of different things. But he is always struggling to make money. Now, because this guy is so smart, he will actually get into something and he will do it for a little bit, and in a very short period of time, he will start to make money just because he's committed, he has experience with things like that or similar to that he's done in the past. He's very good at staying focused, but what he does is he'll get involved in something, and then sometimes it's a couple weeks, sometimes it's a few months later, that thing falls off, and then he gets involved in something else. And he's been doing this for years. So even though he has the potential to make lots of money, he doesn't, or at this point right now, he's not, because he's always jumping around from thing to thing to thing. There was this other guy that actually called me up. It was this guy that when I was in an MLM company, he was in it too, and he was this big guy in a Primerica. He had I forget which it was, but he was in this company Primerica. It's an MLM company, and they have these things like an RVP. That's like where you want to be at. That's like the big goal. That's when you've made it. Usually RVPs make like $100,000 a year. He was above that. He was, I think, 1 or 2 levels above that. He was making a lot of money. So anyway, we became kind of close, and he called me up. It was about a week and a half ago, and he was telling me how he is now doing this thing to where he's running like he's running a car place that fixes cars. And he's working on creating a business around that. But before he did that, he was doing this other thing. And then before that, he was doing the thing that I was in. So what am I trying to get at here? So what a lot of people do is they don't stop and take a step back and observe where they are. Where are you at now? What business are you in now? How sustainable is your business? How reliable is your business? 5, 10, 15 years from now, will the business that you're in still be around? What you want to do is you need to really take a step back and evaluate your life and your business and make sure that it's something you can stay with if you want to get rich. When I think about getting rich, I want to find a business, right? We know to get rich, we got to start a business, right? I mean, sure, you could work for a company and you could move up, and there are companies that you can move up in. I mean, you could start off selling cars, you could move up to a car manager of a lot and make $250,000 a year, but then you're going to be working 60 plus hours a week, right? You know, that doesn't seem to, you don't really have a life if you're working 60 plus hours a week. You know, you could start at other companies and move up, but a business is where you're going to make the most money the quickest because you're in complete control. You can scale it. You can put systems and people in place, the two things, systems and people in place to run the business, so you could literally work no hours or 5 to 10 hours a week max and make 6 to 7 figures a year, so you have the money and you get the time to do the things you want to do. I think that's kind of the end goal that we want. But you want to make sure that what you're in or what you're pursuing is something long-term. So I actually had this experience about a year ago. About a year ago, I was doing this thing, and I'm not going to say it, but I was doing this thing, and I said, you know, what I'm doing right now and what I'm pursuing, I'm starting to get good at, I was starting to make money with. I said, you know, 10 years from now, there's a very good chance this thing's not going to be around. There's a very good chance it's not going to be around. And I denied it for a few months, but it started to eat me alive to where I got to the point where I was like, you know what? Even though I've been grinding my ass off for a year, I'm going to stop. I'm going to get into a brand new industry. I'm going to get into this new thing because this new thing that I'm getting into, I know it's going to be there forever. There's been examples of this thing dating back hundreds of years. And because of the nature of the business and the way it's structured, I know that literally 50 to 100 years from now, this thing will still be making money. Now, sure, there will be little shifts that happen, but what I need to learn is just something I need to learn once. Once I have it figured out, I will be able to be rich forever in this space. And sure, as little changes come, I'll adjust, but I only have to learn one thing once. And that's really what a lot of people, I believe, want, right? I mean, you're watching this video right now. When you get into a space, do you want to every couple of years have to start all over and start learning something new? Of course you don't. You want to get into something once. You want to figure it out. Sure, there's going to be a learning curve. Sure, there's going to be some pain. Now, of course, you can minimize the learning curve dramatically, right? If you can get access to a step-by-step guide on exactly how to do it. But even if you do that, there's still going to be a couple things you're going to screw up, right? Now, it won't be, instead of being 100 things, it might only be 1 or 2 things, but there'll still be a couple things you need to screw up or go back and fix. But once you learn it, once you master it, once you put in the 10,000 hours, right? You've heard that saying, it takes 10,000 hours to master something. That does not mean, by the way, it takes 10,000 hours to start making money with something, all right? You can start making money very quickly, but to master it takes 10,000 hours. And if you put in 10,000 hours of getting good at something, I mean, you're going to be one of the best in the world at it. You will be a master at it. You will be well known for it because people are so lazy nowadays. People are so unmotivated, and people are jumping around from thing to thing to be someone that puts in 10,000 hours of consistently planning, taking action, observing the actions, making course corrections, and then taking new actions to master a certain area, a certain field is so rare, you'll be making lots of money. The last thing you want to do, though, is get into something, be putting in a lot of time, start to make money with it, and then something happens and it falls off. Take a step back. Observe where you're at. What are you doing now? Is this going to be around a few years from now? 5 to 10 years from now? What about 20 to 30 years from now? Is this something, are you building something that has massive longevity that you will be able to pass on to people that are closest to you? Some businesses you can, some businesses you can't. Some online businesses you can, some online businesses you can't. Some offline businesses you can, some offline businesses you can't. McDonald's is an example of a business that you can. McDonald's was started, when was it started? It was started around the 1950s, wasn't it? Well, what year are we in, right? It's been over half a century. And sure, the McDonald's has changed a little bit. Actually, when McDonald's was started, they had a grill in the back and they were serving a lot more than the menu they had now. What they did is they basically applied the 80-20 rule, and they got rid of the majority of the shit that wasn't selling. They got rid of most of their stuff if you go back and you study the history of McDonald's. And sure, McDonald's has changed a little bit, but the overall structure of the business is the same. So if you were going to look for a fast food place or a business that you could start, if you had the money for a McDonald's would be something that would be worth doing, right? Because you'd spend the money for the McDonald's, you'd have to learn how to run a McDonald's, but once you have it running, the McDonald's has a system and the people in place, you basically sit back and collect cash. Sure, there's going to be a couple changes every now and then. They're going to have a new menu or they're going to have a new McFlurry flavor that they add or take away, but who cares? That's pretty easy. You want that for your business. So just think about this now. Have this awareness. There's a big thing out there where they're talking about getting rich is all about taking massive action. And you do have to take massive action to get rich. But you also want to couple that, or is that even the right phrase? You want to combine that with strategy, with long-term thinking, with having a bird's eye view. Because the last thing you want is to be so focused where you're taking action and you're working and working and working. You're building the train tracks where you don't stop, or you're building the train that's on the train tracks where you don't stop to look at the distance the train track goes and realize that the train track you're on ends in 5 miles. That you need to stop. You might need to get on another train track that goes on for, as you can see, at least 10,000 miles. Hopefully you guys got value from this video. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will see you guys on the next one.